Assuming we're live.
Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here. We're going to give it just about another minute as others are joining.
Great to see a diverse audience in the chat.
Quite. Covering a lot of time zones.
Thanks everyone for getting out of bed early or staying out of bed or just making time in your workday.
All right, it's just a couple of minutes past the hour, so I will go ahead and kick this off. Hello, everyone, again. Welcome to today's webinar, Transforming Project Management, Microsoft's Evolution and Future Vision, presented by Innovative-e and CPS. My name is Stephanie Taylor, and I'm your moderator for today. We're excited to be joined by our partners at CPS, a two-time Microsoft Partner of the Year winner for Project and Portfolio Management, and a two-time finalist, including last year. A Microsoft Solutions partner with over 30 years expertise, CPS specializes in helping organizations transform the digital workplace with deep capabilities across modern work, business applications, and security, and a strong focus on adoption and sustainable value. CPS brings a people-first approach to envisioning, implementing, and supporting Microsoft-powered solutions. Innovative-e is a 7-time Microsoft Award winner and the 2023 and 2024 Microsoft Partner of the Year for Project and Portfolio Management. We partner with organizations to modernize the entire project and work management ecosystem through a platform-first approach. With deep expertise in AI and Copilot, we deliver sustainable solutions that give your business the agility it needs to thrive and help you become a higher performing organization with happier people. Your speakers today are from Innovative-e, Mike Taylor, and from CPS, Lester Lovelock. Mike is the founder and CEO of Innovative-e. He began his career writing PPM software for NASA and is recognized visionary in project and work management with deep experience as a PPM practitioner, industry thought leader, published author, and process and applications innovator. In 2023, Mike wrote The AI Project Work Management Revolution is Here, Practical Strategies for Seizing This Moment to Become a Higher Performing Organization with Happier People. It's available on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook format. And as a special thank you, today's webinar attendees will receive a free digital copy. We'll have details at the end of our presentation. Lester Lovelock is a head of practice for project and portfolio management at CPS. With over 20 years at the company, Lester brings deep hands-on expertise across the full spectrum of PPM. From on-prem to cloud, integration to optimization, known for his practical insight and commitment to real-world outcomes, Lester leads CPS's efforts to help organizations reimagine project delivery in the modern workplace. He's based in the UK, just outside of London. Before we dive in, let's cover a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording along with the slide deck will be sent to you via email within the next few days. You're free to review the content at your convenience or share it with colleagues who could not attend today. Please use the Q&A feature on the right side panel of this platform to ask questions. We will address as many questions as possible as time permits. If you encounter any technical issues, such as audio or video problems, please use the chat function to notify us, and we will do our best to assist you promptly. With those housekeeping items out of the way, let's get started. I'm pleased to hand the floor over to Mike and Lester. The virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks everybody for being here. We're super excited about this topic today. And Lester, thank you so much for the collaboration over the last several months on the white paper and on getting prepared for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Really looking forward to it, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to cover today is understanding Microsoft's evolution and future vision. I know there's a lot of questions about kind of where things have been and where they're going in 2025. The products have been around a long time, so we'll cover that, and we'll also cover a lot about kind of what do we see happening, and in terms of the collaboration products, AI products, the modern platform. And then we'll also cover, there's a lot of questions these days about what's going on with Project Online and what might be the next best thing to do in terms of transformation there. Then we'll also just quickly cover on some customer journeys. As Steph said, this is the first in a 3-part series. When we first started talking about this, Lester and I, we realized pretty quickly we couldn't cover all the content in one, so we decided to do 3. So please, if you haven't yet and you haven't seen this, then sign up for the other 2 that'll be in July 23rd and August 13th. And we'll be covering how and when to move from legacy platforms, and then how to modernize and finding your strategic window, which there'll be some insights there. We work with a lot of customers. Lester's team and our team here, hundreds of customers we work with on PPM and work management solutions. And one of the challenges customers have is, how do you convince management now's a good time to do this? How do you get the funding to go do it and make the transformation that's available? So, and take advantage of the platform and really start moving into the future of project management. Grounding for this series, I mentioned we co-produced a white paper. We started this work, Lester, was back in the winter of last year, right? We thought we'd have it out by the end of the year. It turns out, I think we released it in May or something like that. Took a while. It was a lot to chew on.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a broad topic, and I think the white paper incredibly gives a lot of evidence and factual information about how to maximize the opportunity. So
yeah. And I think the reason we did this, right, Lester, is we came to we have a meeting of the minds that we've talked to probably hundreds or thousands of organizations and found that there's a lot of need for information. Because there is so many different versions of the Microsoft products that are out there, from the traditional Microsoft project to, and we'll cover that in more detail in a few minutes, to the new planner with premium features. There's Power Apps, there's Copilot, there's all these different things that are out there. So it really needs some clarification of what's available, and that's really what we'll start to cover today. It's what's kind of there and where we've been and how we've gotten to where we are, and start previewing what's a good next step to really look to going forward. We did have the honor of having the planner, the Microsoft Planner team review this white paper as well. So we wanted to make sure it was accurate and reliable with what they were seeing for the future as well. One of the things that's interesting, and I'll only read a little bit of this, the opening of the white paper states that successful project and work management is essential to thriving organizations, yet traditional siloed project management tools have become obstacles rather than enablers. And I think we're seeing that a lot, right, Lester? That there's this proliferation of tools and technologies, and that's what it's all about today as well. It's not just talking about if you have something like Project Online, how do you move forward, but there's also this whole proliferation of data and tools, and it's creating as much chaos as it is solving problems, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like every week there's a new procurement to look at a very specific niche problem, rather than exploiting the tools and the capabilities that you may not even know you have in your organization. Yep,
absolutely. And with that, we said we're going to be interactive with this. So we have several polls. We want you guys to stay interactive, give us feedback that'll help guide the conversation. And then also, as Steph said earlier, please feel free to put your questions in the QA. We'll cover that as we can, and we definitely hope to have some time at the end. And if we don't get to things, we will we'll follow up with you guys afterwards. So with that, I think, Lester, you want to take us through the first question in the next few slides?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, welcome everyone again. We're really interested in your feedback, and we're really interested in understanding a little bit about what you're hoping to get out of it, not just this webinar, but the whole series of webinars that we're looking to run. So with that in mind, let us know. There's a poll up now that should be live. You should see it on your screen. We're interested to hear what you're hoping to get out of this webinar. If none of the options apply, there's a something else option. Post it in chat. We really like to hear what's going on in your brains.
Yeah, and looking at the results, they're starting to roll in. A lot of people participating. That's awesome. Looks like both is in the lead. There's finding opportunities is about 13%, and understanding the future of Project Online is about 22% now. But both is way out in front with about 60-something%, and then something else. Somebody's saying, what kind of guidance or toolings would you make more confident moving forward? We'll actually cover that. So thank you for putting that in.
It's really good. It feels like we might have pitched this just about right, Mike, since the something else is so far behind.
Yeah.
It is quite telling, though, that understanding the future of Projects Online is so far, our second option, because sometimes the messaging isn't clear, and sometimes it is a bit hard to find out what's going on and how. So hopefully we'll do our best to illuminate you where we can.
Absolutely. Looks like it's slowing down, so we probably want to go ahead and close the poll here, keep moving forward. But yeah, about 65% were both. So like you said, Lester, I think everybody will be pleased. We'll be covering those topics in this and the next ones as well. All right, looks like we're back to the deck. So let's move forward.
So we're interested also in letting you know why we think this matters. And here's our take on it. So there are multiple tools out there, right? It may not just be Project Online that you're here to talk about. It may be some of the other proliferation of tools that have existed in your organization, whether it's some of the SaaS options like a Monday or an Asana or a Jira, or it's more legacy stuff like your Project Online or your Project Server in some cases. Be surprised how many of our customers are still clinging on to bits of tin in a basement somewhere and hoping it will continue limping along. So, everyone's thinking about multiple tools. So really the purpose of today is about understanding, what is the future, what options are available to you, and where do you go from here? Are there opportunities to exploit that maybe you hadn't thought about? And that's what Mike and I are here for, is to kind of highlight where your magic moment is. Really, this isn't a space where everyone can share stories and opinions, and we're here from a presentation side of things to share our war wounds, to share our hard-earned scars and battle stories. And I'm sure if you find us over a beer somewhere, Mike and I would wax lyrical about this for quite a
couple pints, maybe.
Just a couple of pints, yeah. So it'd be interesting to get you guys talking to each other as well in the chat, and sharing your histories and your stories. We'd love to see that as well. It's also to try and explore and get across a little bit about what the future of the Microsoft PPM stack looks like. Again, like I said earlier, and the results from the poll ring true. It's a bit of a muddy future. The communication hasn't been massively clear, and we're here to enlighten you a little bit. From the partner track, we have some of the inside conversations, and we talk directly to the product team and to the product marketing team. So we'll share what we can in that space. And then finally, we'd like to communicate as much as we can, or as best as we can, what a real transition looks like for you. Clearly, every organization is going to be slightly different, and we can't tailor this material to everyone's specific needs, but we'll talk about some of the more common practices, the more common approaches, and we'll talk about what an opportunity to consolidate under a single cloud might look like as well.
Yeah, just jump in. There's a few questions in. We won't cover them all, but somebody posted that their Lotus 123 is not going to be sufficient. So I love the humor. Thank you for that on this Wednesday. Yeah, and then there's a couple other questions about the timeline for deprecation. We'll talk a little bit about that. We don't have any information that hasn't already been shared publicly, but we can talk a little more detail around maybe the nuance around that. And then there's also a question about the best future-proofed alternative. And I think that's what this whole series is about. It's really more of a platform approach, which takes a little bit of time to get your head around, rather than a pure SaaS to SaaS type migration. So we will definitely be covering that in more detail.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Let's move on, shall we?
Yep. And we told everybody there'd be more polls, right?
Spoiler alert, here's the next one. So we're interested to understand a little bit more about the sorts of tools that you're using today. What does your organization shape look like? So which of these options apply to your team or organization? Poll should be live now. Let's see what you're all doing.
It looks like some results are just about to start coming in. Don't be shy. There's a lot to read there. All right.
We're off and running. Okay, this is quite interesting, Mike. The more than one of the above is straight out there in the front, which is pretty much in line with our findings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little surprised that wasting time on tedious, repetitive tasks is so low compared to everything else. It's pretty balanced among the other three. It's all about 12%.
Clearly, there's a lot of job satisfaction in the chat today. People are enjoying their work, and it doesn't feel tedious or repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is in most cases, like I said, we pretty much know what people are going to answer to these because we've had so many discussions with folks. But yeah, usually it's a combination of these challenges. And it's interesting that it's pretty well spread out, except for, again, wasting time on repetitive tasks. Awesome.
All right, looks like we're slowing down a little bit now.
Yeah, we can probably go ahead and close the poll.
Thanks, everyone, for your input and your feedback there. That was really helpful. And actually, we'll use some of these stats then to have further conversations with our customers and with Microsoft as well. So all useful info.
Yeah, very much. And it's a good population size. We had well over 400 sign up for this. So it's a good set of folks. We really appreciate everybody signing up and attending today. All right, moving forward then. Still a lot to cover here. So this is a lot of folks have. I know, Lester, you guys just did an in-person event recently, and we did project the PMI symposium back in September, October last year. But one of the things that always happens, and I'm sure this happened to you as well, Lester, is people walk up and they have questions about what's going on with the platform, or sometimes there's even confusion. You ask them, are you using Project? And they're, it's like, which version of Project? Project Desktop, Project Server, Project Online, Project for the Web, Project, so there's a lot of different, Microsoft probably could have done a better job of naming over the years. So I think there's been a lot of confusion, right?
Absolutely. I think, having multiple solutions and different systems called Project, whether it's Project Server, Project Online, Project for the Web, now defunct, or Project Desktop, it's very confusing. It kind of gets the point of what it's trying to convey, but when you're looking at a market and you're trying to select tooling, it's very hard sometimes to find out what's most appropriate. Yeah, and Project Operations, I forgot that one as well.
Yeah. There are a few others that we don't have listed here. So there's a whole lot of things that happened with on-premise going back to 2000, and even before that was Microsoft Project for the Desktop, which dates back all the way to 1984, I think. So that's the Wayback Machine there. But you can see that Microsoft has been iterating and investing over the years in different versions of the project management platform. And you see all the thing. I'm not going to read all that out. You guys can see it. But Project Online was introduced in 2013 and still exists today. As Lester mentioned, there are still versions of Project Server out there, and probably will be for a while for those who are have their own data centers and are managing it that way. And like CPS, we have customers who are still there. What's interesting here is that the evolution, I think, really shows the evolving customer needs as well. You start to look at the three bars at the bottom. You have Project for the Web, and which is now being renamed into Planner Premium, or is being absorbed into that with Power Apps, which is an important point. We'll talk about that. But also Teams, Copilot, and Agents, those other bars. I think going all the way back to the early versions of Project Server and then Project Online, one of the themes that really resonated with folks was collaboration. I know I was doing project management back in the day with, with some of the first versions of Project Server in that 2003, 2007 timeframe. And one of the things I loved was that as a project manager, I could create my own collaboration space with SharePoint. And collaboration really is a huge component of project management. And I think one of the things, people say all the time, if they're Microsoft centric, is Teams is where the work is happening. Whether you're calling it project or work management, you're doing your meetings, you're capturing your meeting notes. Now, if you have Copilot with Teams, it's great, right? I mean, it can automatically AI summarize your meeting notes and everything. So, you're storing your artifacts there. So a lot of stuff's happening even outside of traditional like task management, right, Lester? So I think the evolution more into a collaborative kind of component for work management is an important thing to see with this kind of graphic here, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then I think the other thing that that comes into play is you see things like Planner, Power Apps in there, and AI, of course. And what Microsoft has always been, they're very good at doing, the productivity suite, and they call it modern work. That's where a lot of this stuff lives, is in the modern workspace. All of your M365 Office apps, everything else, kind of live in that space. But they also have always been really good at building platforms for development and for not just professional developers, but over the last few years, moving more into the low code, pro code, easier to do kind of development, and so that individuals, power users, things like that can do more on their own. And even professional developers, I think 89% of professional developers use some form of low code solution nowadays, because it accelerates the time frame to get things done. And we'll talk more about this, but one of the things that happens in any kind of complex project, whatever the product is there's oftentimes a lot of customizations around it. And what Microsoft is leaning into is this concept of, collaboration is key between people, and now, technology and AI, and we'll talk more about that, but also the ability to easily extend and customize, because Lester, you made a great point a few minutes ago. Every customer is different in how they build and evolve their project management solutions. And the bigger the organization, the more complexity they have, the more of these things they have to do to customize around their project management or business processes. So Microsoft is trying to make the collaboration easier and trying to make that customization components easier. And I think that's really a big piece of this evolution that you're seeing, and why the platform is such an important part of this message that we're kind of taking forward here.
For sure. I mean, every organization is, I kind of see them as fingerprints, right? Your enterprise architecture is completely different to anywhere else you'll work. It's that spicy blend of people and infrastructure and tools that have come together and formed over a number of years. But like you say, Mike, this is why it's really important that Microsoft provide a platform that actually can do away with a lot of that complexity and give you a single place to start looking at expanding and solving those problems, all under a single architecture.
Yep, absolutely. So this takes us into some insights. I think you guys have, in some recent events, you were working with customers to pull some of these insights out, right, Lester?
Yeah, absolutely. So we ran a few in-person events with our customers not so long ago. So this is a fairly UK skewed view of things. I think, however, it rings true regardless of where you are. And we asked them a few questions. Really, it was about looking at legacy platforms and why there might have been hesitation to look at modern platforms like Planner or Project for the Web. And it was interesting, the results that we got back here. So one of the key things, and we touched on it just a moment ago with enterprise architecture, is about integration with other systems and being able to make sure that you have the ability to do that. If you're just buying a product that is ring fenced and does what it does, it's kind of a black box approach. Integration is either very hard or very expensive, or needs comprehensive middleware, which is adding to your technical burden again. So it was interesting in the number of polled responses that integration with other systems was one of the concerns, because you've built this legacy platform with all these bells and whistles and integrations over time, and what do you do with that? How do you move it?
Right.
Other things that were interesting to us, data migration. So again, not just system integrations, but the complexity of data that goes into those systems over time. If you look at something like Project Online, it may have, and in multiple cases for us, has come up through a number of years of different versions. Some of our customers, in fact, one we've been working with since Project Server 2007, when it was first launched, and they actually came from Project Server 2003 before that. And they've just been upgrading the databases through the years, all the way until their first step into cloud, when we did a migration of all the legacy data into cloud. So they've got a huge history of everything that they've delivered over time. This was for a large telco, and you can imagine the size and scale and complexity of the projects that they operate. So actually migrating data to them is a big concern. They want to make sure that they can maintain that fidelity if they do want to move across, or at least have a strategy that says, how do we look back and how do we make sure that we're still comparing what we did previously with where we want to be? So there's a huge amount of insight that we took from those. And really what that's helped us as partners do, and I'm sure, Mike, you'll say the same, is it's helped us kind of shape how we talk to our customers. It's helped us understand what your problems are and where you might want to focus your time and attention. If there's something that's of low value, we won't bother talking about it. We won't bother building it. Whereas if there are concerns that we need to allay, if we need to help you in certain areas, that's where we'll focus our time with you.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you and I could probably talk about these things for for a while. Very interesting stuff, especially I really think about when you talked about the integration, that being one of the biggest ones, and I know you're going to talk more about that. We see that all the time, and you hear people talk about, well, I don't want to go build something, and you find out that you probably already have built something. Almost every organization, like I said, with any complexity, has built some kind of customization, and integration is, whether it's a traditional integration where you're feeding data back and forth, or it's really more like a data warehouse where you're pulling things from multiple sources and using that for reporting and visibility for decision making. Those kind of things that exist all the time. And with a platform, and I know you're going to talk on this, I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, is with the modern platform with Microsoft, the integrations are so much easier, so many connectors, so much that you can work with directly in the Dataverse, which is kind of the underlying data structures that are there.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting when you talk about system integrations, and I won't wax lyrical about this for too much longer, Mike, I promise. I'm conscious of the time. But whether it's a system integration that's been built or it's a system integration that operates by people, I'm sure we've moved a little bit further away from the days of access databases that run business critical systems now, but you still find people owning and operating spreadsheets that push and pull data
all the time.
So don't underestimate that as being one of your potential hurdles you may need to unpick.
Right.
We also asked a bunch of other questions around customizations and integrations, whether they are system built or they are people operated. And the answer from every single one of our customers who came to our event was 100% yes. Yes, we have integrations. We didn't stand still. We didn't use out of the box. It's a core part of how we operate our platform. We have integrated with other systems. And then the deep dive on that was, well, what are they then? The majority of people said that they had data warehouses of some sort. Project Online, other systems are great at presenting live data, but how do you look at history? How do you do trend analysis? How do you take snapshots of that data? How do you integrate it with other platforms? So data warehousing was the answer, whether that's traditional or now lakes and boat houses and whatever other terminology starting to come to light. I know boat houses isn't a real thing.
I thought it was.
So there's all sorts of warehousing of data and transformation of data that goes on. Bespoke integration is another big thing. For most of our customers over time, we've done things like tie into other systems, whether it's pulling back finance data from Oracle or SAP, or tying back work breakdown structures to give a comprehensive picture of what your project costing looks like. There are always requirements for those sorts of things. Same for visualizing data. So we consider integrations like Power BI, where you may have out of the box visualizations of data, or you may have built bespoke visualizations of data, again, mashing data up from different systems from your data warehouses. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff as well, kind of niche, bespoke things. Some of our manufacturing organizations, one in particular sprung to mind, where they wanted to integrate project online timesheets with the clock in and clock out on the machines in the warehouse to understand how many minutes people were spending. A very comprehensive integration there. But
we did something very similar a few years ago. That's interesting.
yeah,
Company.
use the data, right?
Yep.
Understand how much time people are spending in the warehouse and on machines.
Yep.
That's the cost of the project.
Yep. Interesting. I think I got ahead of you on some of these other preview of questions here.
No problem. So we asked them also, what would help? What would help from us as a partner to answer some of these questions? And they suggested these things. So workshops, demos, being able to reimagine what a modern PPM platform looks like. And this isn't about an upgrade. This isn't about a migration necessarily. This is oftentimes a reimagining of everything that's come before in the legacy systems. And Mike, I know you'll talk about this a little bit, maybe in this webinar or the next one, probably both.
Probably.
It's not just about taking what you've got and putting it on the latest platform. It's also about understanding where value lies. Systems and data that aren't used, don't use them. If there's stuff that you're not exploiting or there's an opportunity to automate something, take that opportunity, take that moment. And with that in mind, key feature mapping, there is stuff that is core that you still need to do and will continue to need to do. And how do you do that on the new platform? What does that look like? As well as a review of those processes that you have internally in your organization. So project approvals and startups and closures and captures of lessons learned and all of that good stuff. What processes can you take forward? Should you take forward? Would you look to automate or would you just leave behind? And then a roadmap, how do I do it? And we'll talk about this more in later webinars in this series. What does a roadmap look like for modernizing a platform? How do you do it? What do you take the opportunity to do? What do you do with legacy data? What features do you port across, or what features do you look at reimagining? And how do you engage with your user base as well? How do you make sure that they're bought into all of this?
Yep, absolutely. And with that,
let's get your thoughts. So that was based on a set of workshops from our customers over here in the UK. We'd love to hear what you think. What do you need in order to make decisions about replatforming? What do you need to help make that case? I saw a few questions in the chat earlier about, I'm on ServiceNow. How do I convince my bosses that that's not the right platform? Well, what would you need to do that?
Right.
Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And to pregame that answer a little bit, it depends, right, Lester?
It depends massively.
Yeah, we have customers that decide that they want to use something that's more Microsoft centric for their PPM solution. We have other customers who decide that they still need capabilities of the Microsoft platform and a bunch of the stuff that we've talked about and we'll talk about, but they still use ServiceNow as well. I mean, ServiceNow is a great platform for your IT service management, and it does have some pretty good project management capabilities built in. So the question is, it depends. And that's where oftentimes things like integrations come in, or data, pulling data in and data warehousing and stuff like that. So this one's interesting. We're seeing, the workshops seems to be ahead in the clear roadmap. And I think that probably aligns with what we've been hearing a lot, especially lately. I'd say this year a lot. People are really trying to get their head around visualizing how this approach, this transition kind of works, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about this a bit later on about, how do you engage a partner? I'd be interested to know what percentage of that 41% have a partner that they're talking to actively about reimagining, or if they're trying to go it alone, which can sometimes be hard when you don't know what the options are to you even.
Right.
Why partners exist. We've done this dozens, thousands of times.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this is interesting. So it looks like the workshop's still clearly in the lead here, about 42%. Clear roadmap is in second with 25, then 20 for key feature mapping, and review of processes is actually pretty low there. And then something else, 5% as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. The processes, I guess a lot of organizations have worked out the way they work now. They know how to deliver a project. It's been around for a few years, and maybe that doesn't need reimagining.
Right.
What I would say is that perhaps you need to consider how how that process maps to the technology that you're looking to embed. Where
Right.
are the options to smooth it out, to automate it, to put some assurance points in, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for everybody for participating in that one. We're going to move forward with some more information here. This is about, we're going to take a small segue over into Microsoft Planner. Planner, of course, has been around. And then you mentioned this a minute ago, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. Planner is actually going to be the go forward product name. After 40 something years, Microsoft is rebranding it to Planner. So what their modern tool started to be after Project Online was Project for the Web. And now it's being assimilated into Planner, and there's a few other subtleties that go into that, but that will be the work management component. Now, again, we see Planner as being part of a solution and not the endpoint solution. And I think there's been a lot of consternation and a lot of misunderstanding over like Microsoft's direction, and Microsoft never intended Project for the Web or Planner to be a complete replacement for Project Online. If they had, they would have built it with feature parity. They did not. They reimagined the product and the product suite, and they added the capability to do things like having your own ability to update it and have partners update via the Power Apps and of course Copilot extensions and things like that. So they really can get to a situation where it's a better endpoint, but they're also doing some really cool things with Planner. I mean, it's a simple to use interface. It's more modern. It has different ways you can look at information. It's intelligent. They started building Copilot in it. Planner with premium features. There's the base version, then premium. Started to call it Planner with premium features. I think they're landing on just Planner Premium now, right, Lester? I think that's where they landed. But they're also starting to do some. So they had Copilot built into it early. Just like you see with a lot of your other Office apps, but they're also doing some interesting stuff with if you guys haven't heard about agentic AI or agents, which you can develop your own agents, or you can have professionals do it, or in some cases you'll have first party like Microsoft develop this thing called a project manager agent. This is really meant to help project managers do some of the work that is not necessarily the fun work. And in this case, this is just a very quick demo of getting started. The interesting piece here is not just that it goes out and it helps you create a schedule. It's that it uses what's called grounding, and it uses different things to ground that information. So it's allowing AI to understand. In this case, I think it's pointed at a SharePoint list. So it's looking at documents and things like that, plus some prompting that you put in about what your project is about, and uses that as grounding to then decide what to do in terms of going out and helping you get started. So I'll just play this quick video. I think it's less than a minute, and let you guys get an idea of what this is. This was unveiled in, and I think it's out there, right, Lester? It was unveiled at Ignite back in November, but I think it's generally available now.
It is, yeah.
Introducing the Project Manager, a new agent that automates project and task management. Start by creating a new plan and then selecting Plan with Project Manager. Give the plan a name and share it with the group. Now it's time to set the goal for the project. Think of this like a well-crafted prompt that AI will use to create relevant tasks to complete the project successfully. The more descriptive and specific, the better. You can even add relevant files to the plan to provide key information and context. Then click Generate Tasks, and the project manager instantly creates a task list tailored to this goal. Yes, it's that easy.
And there you have it. In very short order, it was able to use some of the, like we said, some of the grounding to go out and create these tasks, which then can be, you can manage it within Planner. If you've seen the interface, you can do it with, traditional kind of timeline view or Gantt chart kind of view, or you can use, the boards or different views to manage through the task that way.
Introducing the project.
All right. So we have kind of alluded to key platform dates. There are changes going on. So every software that's out there has a life cycle. And so there are product changes and retirements and things that happen, right? You saw earlier all those different versions of Project and Project Online, Project for the Web, and all those things throughout the year, and Teams and everything else. So there's versioning that goes on all the time. That is continuing to happen, and we'll highlight a few of those here. There are some things happening on the platform, from a deeper dive perspective to understand why these changes are happening. Some of the underlying platform capabilities and components are changing and evolving as well. Microsoft is hardening the platform from a security perspective. They're modernizing it and making it more optimal towards the new way of doing things using the Dataverse and Power Apps and Copilot and all those kind of things. So what's happening is, in addition to the normal lifecycle things that you see going on, there's also some deprecations that are going on that are impacting certain applications like SharePoint and Project Online. And it's important, if you have those, this is almost like our public service announcement here. If you have those and you haven't seen it, you need to understand kind of what's happening in that respect. So some of the bigger ones that are coming in April of next year, the SharePoint workflows are going away. So if you've used those workflows embedded into some of your Project Online capabilities, people use them for all kinds of things, intake and other things. You need to be aware of that. And there is a workaround. Obviously, you can use the Power Platform to do that. And we've helped, and I'm sure, Lester, you guys have helped with that. The remote event receivers, this is more of an edge case, I think. This is probably for your larger organizations who are doing things like the data warehousing, like Lester was mentioning before. But those event receivers are used to pull Project Online information rather than having to do it. It does it in a more of a programmatic way, but those are going away at the platform level. So if you have that kind of capability built in, or if you bought products, one of the great products that's out there is, and we've used this, I know you guys have, is Edison Data Store. Unfortunately, it won't be able to, unless they re-architect it. I don't know if they're going to do that, but they can't take advantage of the remote event receivers. So your data warehouse won't go away, but the feeds from Project Online will go away. So you need to be aware of that. And we have several customers, I'm sure you guys do too, Lester, they're being impacted by that one. SharePoint add-ins are going to be retired. And you'll have to assess whether or not that's a big impact for your organization. And then there's some other things going on. These are, I think, probably more of just normal life cycle stuff for SharePoint 2016 and 19. Lester mentioned, and I mentioned it again, that there's officially, I think that's when the official transition will be complete for all the project for the web to planner. And then roadmap's going to be retired. And then, of course, there's some other things going on with Project 2021, which will be a new version that'll be coming out. And I believe what's that called? Subscription edition or something like that, I believe.
Yeah, that's the version for Project Server is going to be subscription edition.
Okay. Yeah, and then 2021 will be the desktop.
Yeah, whatever year they end up settling on, 2024, perhaps 2026, maybe the next one, who knows?
Yeah, it used to be really predictable, right? It was a 3-year cadence. Everything was built around that 3-year cadence, and now all that's changed. And with the online stuff, a lot of it's called CI/CD. Microsoft is continuous integration, continuous deployment. So if you're using things like Teams, you'll notice that sometimes your experience changes overnight. You come in the next day like, that's working a little bit different, but that's the new world we live in, and it's not just Microsoft. All ISVs or software providers are pretty much doing continuous deployment of new capabilities and things like that, which is great. Can be a little disruptive though, but it's just the world we live in now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of things to note here that are important though is that Project Online has no end date. Like that is continuing for the moment until Microsoft announced that. Same with Project Desktop, that's not going anywhere. So, Project Professional or Project Desktop or Project 2019.
Yeah, there's been a lot of confusion around the online piece, Lester. So thanks for bringing it back up. And somebody actually had a question on that. Some people are confusing things like these particular feature capabilities, platform features for announcement that there's a deprecation of online. That is not the case. There's still people standing up online all the time. Microsoft has given guidance on that, and that original guidance came out, I think, 2019, that you need to start thinking about a transition. There's been no real investment in the product in terms of new capabilities or feature functionality, but there's no official retirement date. And we're going to have to move forward. We're going through a lot of material here. I believe this one's me, isn't it, Lester?
It is you.
Okay. So Microsoft, this is actually a slide from Microsoft, and we talked a little bit earlier about how they're really re-envisioning, and it's not just them, that the whole marketplace, the analysts, everyone else. And Lester, you mentioned Monday.com and Asana, and you didn't go through the whole list, but all the different ones that are out there, ClickUp, Smartsheet, there's all these things that are out there, and almost everyone is trying to really focus on this collaborative work management piece. We talked about that before, because over the last 10 or 15 years, it's really become apparent that some of the detailed disciplined project management piece was too heavy for the vast majority of folks that are out there. It's still required, and there's no doubt that it's still required for your project portfolio management in your project management organizations, maybe more than ever for IT, engineering, places where you have to really get it right in terms of your dependencies and all that kind of stuff. But there's an awful lot of work that goes on that doesn't require that level of rigor that more basic project management or collaborative work management. So that's where you'll see the products are focusing. Now, they don't want to abandon enterprise work management, right? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that side of the equation there, the right side. But the idea, what Microsoft's ideal here is, and it's really in concert with customers and partners, is really, you see that first highlight. They've been saying this for years, that teams can work the way they want. They can work in the tools they want. And of course, they mean things like Teams and the different tools that are out there. But enterprises can get the results they need, both from a collaborative work management and an enterprise work management. So when you see enterprise work management, think PPM if you're a project portfolio specialist. And then sometimes collaborative work management people will talk about casual project managers or non-professional project managers, somebody that may work in a department like HR or marketing or something like that. So but the other highlight here is that disconnected apps and tools make it harder to get done. There's been this huge proliferation of tools. We've mentioned that, and that makes it harder to get things done. So that's another reason we're talking more about a platform approach, where over time you can actually start to collapse the number of tools that you're using, and there's some cost savings associated with that. We don't go into any real detail on that, but there are ways to do that, and I'm happy to talk to folks about that as well. We see that all the time. If you have 6 different tools out there that are doing similar things, you're probably paying for overlapping licenses as well. You're paying for, workflow management. You're paying for file storage. You're paying for collaboration over and over and over again. And there's ways to reduce those costs. And if you have Microsoft, you're probably paying for some of those core costs with a lot of the products right out of the box. All right.
So some reasons why. This is kind of a little bit of an insight into the brain of Microsoft, if such a thing exists. I think it's more like a collection of brains. But really, the reason why Microsoft have evolved their tools is because the technology's changed. So if you look at a platform like Project Server or Project Online, that's been around in one form or another since 2007, the technology has evolved since then. Project Online in a specific example, or Project Server specifically, it's SharePoint based, it's built in that platform, and it hasn't really changed since then, whereas the rest of their stack has moved on. So it's an opportunity to exploit a lot of the other capabilities that have naturally grown up over time. So if you look at something like Planner that's now built in the Power Platform, based on Power Apps, if you're using the Planner Premium Power App, there's a lot of extensibility, and we touch on that in the white paper in a lot more detail. And really, it's all of that has kind of led to an evolution from legacy to modern tools. So a shift away from kind of black box, it does these things under this license, to recognition that all organizations work slightly differently. And actually, there may not be a single tool that does everything that you need. And maybe there's a platform approach that you need to take that will allow you to home grow a lot of that capability, or work with partners to build that capability that is unique to your organization. So those are the 3 real reasons why Microsoft are starting to shift this mindset, and that's being evidenced now by the approach to PPM tools like Planner.
Yep, absolutely.
Is this me again, Mike, or is this you?
I can get started and you can jump in. I don't think we've decided on this one, to be honest. So what we're really trying to do is kind of talk about bringing all this together. So what are some of the concepts we've talked about, and some of the things we might not have delved into in too much detail. It's all in the white paper, though. One of the things that's really important to understand is Project Desktop, Server, Project Online are really not part of Microsoft's go forward. And I shouldn't say go forward strategy. We probably should have said go forward cloud-based collaboration strategy. Those products are not slated for retirement. They would probably be around for a long time for customers who want to use them. But if you want to use the modern platform, these products are not really part of that platform. Not even Project Online, even though it's in the cloud, it's really not part of the modern platform being built into all of the capabilities that are there. It's really basically a SharePoint app that's in the that's in the cloud. Planner Premium is the AI-centric modern work management app from Microsoft. So it is, that's it. It is what it is. That is what it is. And but people also should not try to compare feature for feature on that. That's why we talk about platform versus. So don't go comparing Project Online to Planner Premium. It comes with Power Platform and Copilot components for extensibility. That's one of the really interesting parts, because Microsoft does recognize the need for extensibility, and that's one of the things where if you were looking at Planner against another, third-party born in the cloud solution, dayoftheweek.com or whatever, Planner will have the capability, and Microsoft gives some of that capability away for customers and partners, and we all take advantage of that with the Power Platform and extensions. So it makes it a much more extendable and flexible platform or product within the platform.
And interestingly on that one, Mike, I think a lot of organizations who are currently exploiting Microsoft Cloud for other purposes will be using aspects of that already. So whether it's things like Power Automate or Power BI for reporting, or even Power Apps for building homegrown applications, there'll be aspects of that already in your organization.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Lester. One of the things that we tell folks as well is think about your future. If you're using, and actually I'll bring this next one up, custom PPM solutions have always required some kind of customization. We said that, right? And you mentioned that as well. And these new tools make it easier and more powerful. If you had whatever the tool was, even dayoftheweek.com, they always make these tools look like they're really easy because they look nice and it's easy to get started and stuff. But when you start tackling complex problems, you end up getting a Monday.com consultant to help you with complex workflow or whatever, right? Or a Smartsheet consultant or whatever. Well, what you just said is really important there, Lester. You're never going to find a higher number of, or a bigger breadth of human capital that can manage the technology than you will with the Microsoft platform, right? There's just going to be more people who understand Power Platform and Copilot and those kind of things than there will ever be for a Monday.com or whatever. So you're going to have your ability to manage that in-house or find a partner who can do that very quickly and easily and efficiently is going to be better. And it's just going to get better and better, right? Because the platform, there are, I can't remember how many, I think over 1 million companies on the platform, hundreds of millions of users. It's just going to be the most prolific and most ubiquitous amount of human capital to work on these things. You don't hear about human capital much these days, but that is an important piece. Again, Microsoft partners and customers are building better ways to address challenges, and these challenges are, the new challenges of today that we find, and challenges that we've found in the past. And it's actually very refreshing that we can actually solve problems today that we could never solve before, because the platform allows us to do that. And this is really important. The path, we've said this several times, and you'll continue to hear us say it today and in the future sessions that we hope you attend. It requires a shift from app-centric to a platform-centric approach. We've had a lot of futures discussions with our customers. I know, Lester, you guys have been doing the same thing at CPS and trying to guide them into an approach. And that's not necessarily, the platform approach might not be right for everyone. They may still want to go to another SaaS solution, which is fine. But if you really want to take advantage of the platform and you want to move forward with all that it offers, then you really have to change your thinking and the way that you want to move forward. And we're running short on time, so this is a bit of an eye chart. We're not going to go into great detail on it, but it really does, and you guys will get a copy of the deck so you can go through it. But really, if you look at kind of these columns here, the migration versus transition, and you said that a little while ago, Lester, and it's really important to understand. Migration is really, it's a like for like. You're going to move from one house to another house. It's a similar house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or whatever, right? A transition is really more of a move to a different way of living, right? You're going to move from, a house to, shared living with in condos. I don't know. It's something completely different though, and each of those areas, it requires a different way of thinking. So like in the definition there of technical move of data, it really becomes more of an organizational shift of how work is managed. And I won't read through all these, but that end goal is really important. A migration is about replicating existing functionality, where a transition is really trying to take advantage of all the capabilities of the platform for your enterprise, and really it becomes a value ascension curve. And we've got some information on that if you want to know more about that. We can share that later. But that's really the core difference. It really is it's a transition approach rather than a migration approach. Anything to add on that, Lester?
No, I think you've encapsulated that brilliantly, Mike.
And we're running short on time. We have some customer evidence here from both the two on the left are from Innovative-e, and the ones on the right are from CPS. And we have many more. I'm sure you guys have many more as well, Lester. And so you guys can click on that and feel free to reach out if you have more questions. There's these customers are really taking it, and we'll talk more about these. We'll go into more detail in some of the future sessions as well as to how the customers are actually moving through their journey. We didn't have time to do that today, but we wanted to share this customer evidence with each. The customers are already doing this. They are already moving forward with it, and with some success, and some really good success.
Yeah, absolutely. Both Mike and I from CPS and Innovative-e, we have case studies published. Go and have a look. If you want to talk to either of us about real world evidence and how partnerships work, then we've got the creds to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my book is free today up until midnight. So click on the QR code and get that. But also, there's a ton of links here. Obviously, the most important are at the top. If you want to reach out to Innovative-e or to CPS, please do so. We'd love to continue the conversation. If you want to do it individually, there's Lester and my contact information. We've got about 3 minutes left to see if there's any questions we could pick off real quick, or if anybody, there's a lot of questions.
There's 17 questions unanswered at the moment.
Yeah. So AI support, the answer is yes. There's AI support built in. There's AI support into the platform. That's one of the reasons to go with a platform approach. Insight on timeline for deprecation, we covered that. We don't really, but it is a good time to move away. Is there a recommendation, best future-proofed alternative? Yeah, platform. Go with a platform approach. Don't think about feature for feature. And that's where, partner and partner solutions can really help accelerate that journey significantly. Using ServiceNow, we talked about that. Those 1, 2, 3. Seminar, does it count for PDUs? I think somebody replied to that. Yes, you can claim it under your self-directed learning. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out on that. Somebody talked about ServiceNow. That's just more of a statement. You see anything else there?
In the Q&A, there's a few. So is Project Online and Project Web App the same thing? It is kind of. Project Web App exists in both Project Online and Project Server. It's the browser side of that application.
Somebody asked, is the old OKR MS goals feature going to be resurfaced and integrated into Project? Oof.
not right now is the only answer I can give you. So Viva Goals is being deprecated. It's no longer being sold by Microsoft. There's no replacement for it yet, but talk to partners. CPS has one that we're working on, and I'm sure other partners out there certainly do as well.
We do as well. Yeah, we actually built it into our Teams for PM product. And I think somebody asked if that's our product, and it is an Innovative-e product. And we actually had it integrated with goals, and then Microsoft deprecated goals. So we rebuilt that functionality into the product, said, okay, you don't need goals anymore.
Agile features like Monday and Jira. So plenty of Agile features in the new platform. So Kanban boards are you can manage by sprints and assign to. So all of the board functionality and capabilities there. We found also that a lot of organizations want to kind of integrate again with other Agile management tools like DevOps. So we've built connectors that will do exactly that. And Mike, I'm sure you guys have the same.
Yeah, we're actually very close. We have them on the roadmap both for Azure DevOps and for Jira on their Teams for PM. And it's an interesting scenario, right? Sometimes you're doing traditional project management and you need to understand goals and milestones, but then you have inside that, you have like software development and, epics and user stories and things that are going on. You let those be managed in the other two as well. Yep.
Yep. I think we're at time. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Yep. Thank you, Lester and Stephanie, and everyone here, especially for joining us. And don't forget, we have the next two coming in July. I think it's the 23rd and August 16th. And those are further up in the deck as well. And we'd really love to hear from you. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're at.
Thanks all.
Thank you to Mike and Lester and all of you for participating in today's webinar. We do hope you found it valuable and informative. If we didn't get to your question, feel free to reach out via email. You can reach out to Lester or Mike. Their information is still on the screen. And we might just use your question in an upcoming webinar or blog post. Also, keep an eye on your inbox for the recording of today's session and additional resources. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.